Nobody yet.
Nobody online yet. Expect Michael and Fortune to be online. And with that, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna go through the minutes approval for last week. Last time we met, which was October 10th. From the commissioners, any changes to those minutes compared to what you thought happened or corrections?
I have one grammatical correction on line 75. Says him and his family, should be he and his family. Just
No problem there. Heather, did you find anything?
Because I was absent from the meeting, so I was saying.
But you were listening to it 2 or 3 times. Shelley,
I listened. I didn't find any troubles.
were you here last time?
I wasn't. Should I pull it up?
Okay, well, good. Glad you. Not good. Okay. I need a motion to approve the minutes.
make a motion that we should approve the minutes from our last meeting with the change indicated.
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve the minutes as they stand with the one correction on line 75 by Bob Washburn. Is it Washburn?
Washburn.
Just easy, Washburn. And a second by Shelley Nazer. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? One abstained. That would be Tyler Riggs. Okay, we're now going to move to public comments. A public hearing, but public comments. We're going to leave that up to you. Did you?
Melanie's here for this, the Amsource, or I mean Providence City Center.
Oh, okay. Okay, so no public comments at this time. We're gonna go right into
Yeah, sorry, Brian. We did get a comment that was emailed in yesterday, addressed to the planning commission.
Good.
Minutes.
Please.
Came in Tuesday, October 25th. This is from Allison Olson. The planning commission, thank you so much for all you do for our city. I know you spend a lot of time and energy helping our city. I know you do care a lot about problems. I have a few things I'd like to address. I have mixed feelings on the Vineyard single family high that was just passed. I'm so happy there's single family homes. I know it needs to get done for the residents that live there. I feel like that was a good decision for the situation with Vineyard. It will be so nice for all to have it done. So I'd like to voice my concerns with further development. I know there is a need for housing, but at the same time, we need to keep Providence a nice place to live. A couple of points I'd like to make. First, I get discouraged about small roads that are maintained by the HOA. Even if it is against the law to park on the roads, what are people supposed to do? If you continue to allow these roads, as in the 55 and older development just approved on First East and 250 North, then there has to be additional adequate parking for the people that visit, which I am not sure if this is happening with this development. This is for the residents that live there and for current residents that will live there and for current residents. Second, I think Brookside is an example of why we don't need or want single family high housing or zoning. Sure, there are some bigger lots and it is a nice place to live. Our daughter lives in this area. I also see many problems. With the narrow lots, there is not room for residents to store things. We see trailers and ATVs stored on the roads, boats and lots of all things stored in open and side yards. People use their garage for storage, and so their cars are outside in the driveways. The driveways are short, so many times the cars will be parked blocking the sidewalks. I don't see this as making it nice for our city and its residents. Making the lots a little bigger will not make the homes much more to purchase. If anything, it is just to the advantage of the developer. I hope in the future you will not approve smaller roads without a lot of extra parking, and that single-family high zoning will rarely be used in new developments. We have 4 of our 6 children that live in Providence. 3 of the 4 lived outside of Utah for up to 10 years before they came back to Providence. We love Providence and want to keep it a nice place to live, as I know you do. Thanks so much for all you do, Allison.
Thank you, Tyler.
And thank you, Allison.
It's she showed as an as a person that lives in Providence City.
She did.
She does. Great. Okay, thank you. That's for public comments. We're going to go to public hearings. Item number 1, amending the city code 10-4-1, zoning districts established. Providence City Planning Commission will take comments and questions regarding an ordinance aimed to amend city code 10-4-1 zoning districts. Ordinance seeks to amend some of the names of the zoning districts. Okay, and we don't have anybody public hearing on this. So going to close this item. And we're going to come back to it here as a legislative action. Number 2, I had a public hearing, item number 2, moderate income housing strategies amendment. Providence City Planning Commission will take comments and questions regarding a proposal to amend the wording of strategies listed in 6.3 of the moderate income housing elements of the Providence City General Plan 2020 to be considered to be consistent with the requirements of UCA 10-9A-403 2B sub 3 and UCA similar. No public comments or concerns there. Okay, we're going to move on. Public hearings are now closed. There were no comments. Public hearings. Legislative action. Amending city code 10-4-1. There it is. That's the docs I was looking for. I'm sorry. So, amending city code 10-4-1 zoning districts established. And Providence City Commission will review, discuss, and make a recommendation to City Council on an ordinance to amend city code 10-4-1 zoning districts. Ordinance seeks to amend some of the names of zoning districts. Shelley, you want to share with us what you found?
Oh, sure. I did a little research because, well, I wasn't here at the last meeting and I wanted to, just make sure I understood. And so I did research the surrounding cities. I researched River Heights, Nibley, Logan, as well as Cache County. I think the closest one to this proposal is River Heights as far as their number system. And then Nibley is very similar, except that they do provide more description in the title. So, they have R2 and they list that as residential medium density, and RM residential high density. So they don't, necessarily strike those descriptions and rely primarily on the numbers. Logan, they're a little bit different. They're a bigger city and they have a lot of different zones, but it is similar. So they have mixed residential low, mixed residential medium, neighborhood residential, traditional residential, and things of that sort, low density, and different numbers. And the county is, they don't allow as much zoning. They're kind of more residential 2, residential 5, agricultural, industrial, commercial. So based off of that, I like this. I have heard that we have some confusing names. Once I studied them initially, I think you can tell the difference. They kind of high, medium, low, estate, large. So I like the numbers, and I like that they include the measurements of the lot sizes, but I think I would like to see a little more description of what the number means. So kind of a hybrid. So, for example, R18, it could be residential medium. R16 could be residential high density, or however we want to put that. We did hear in the last city council meeting, some people did address or allude to that we're trying to change these names to hide something. And so I feel like we should be transparent, and we're trying to make it easier, not harder.
Okay, I understand. You have other comments?
I'd maybe make a comment on that. The small, medium, and large, or small, medium, high is pretty subjective. Although it may be a description, it really is kind of a subjective. I shared before, but I'd share again. If you go to a McDonald's and order a small, medium, or large, that is different than if you go to Arby's and order a small, medium, or large, or if you go to another spot. But a 44 ounce is the same. It's consistent from place to place. If I order 44 ounce drink, I know that I'm going to get the same in each spot. It's a marketing. I mean, small, medium, large, high, small, or traditional, medium, or high is a marketing. That's not as descriptive as it is trying to define where they are but it's very objective at that point. That's why we didn't have them, purposely proposed not to have something that was so objective, because our medium, and when you ask that, does our medium match the medium that you saw? Or does our large match the large you saw? Now you saw them, but then did you compare? Did you go down to compare to actually to see? Well, but it's supposed to not be Scarlett's job. At that point, if we have it in a manner that is descriptive but not objective, then the resident moving in can understand that, rather than having to go to Scarlett for that, or a builder that's going from building to building, from area to area. We want to stick and make sure that our titles are descriptive than objective, because then you have to learn a whole new language every time you come into a different area. You're learning that, and that's not developer, because developers are going to do that research, right? It's for those that are the public. It's the public being able to come in from moving from one area to another and understanding and saying, oh, well, I understand that at this point, a residential district is one residential unit per 20,000 square feet.
Or I'll ask anybody, by just reading that, residential district R120, residential district R112, residential district R110. Just by reading that, do I know what that means? The general public? I think that, maybe if you want to leave it, maybe it's residential district R110. What's the
Put a square foot,
square feet?
putting more description to it.
Some more description.
And I think that's fine. I mean, I'm happy for more description or whatever. I just think we want to be careful that part of it is, so we're taking out something that is somewhat objective to different ones and doesn't make it consistent across as people come in, because we have seen those that are, when they talk about a high, they stick on high, and whether it's multifamily or residential high, those are vastly different but because you've used the same high terminology, they seem to be similar, and in reality, they're nothing similar.
May I make a comment, Brian?
Oh, please, go ahead, Fran.
So I'd like you to keep in mind that this is just the very tip top of the iceberg. We're starting with this. Ryan asked me if I would start working on the use chart, which I've started working on, and I kind of am playing with the format a little bit, but the way I have it right now, which is totally subject to change because it's just working information right now. I did take a minute in that, and it will be in the, probably end up in the code since what I'm hearing from you, but based on some of the public comments too. And it does explain what R1 is and what RM is. And there's an example. So we do some of that explanation. And I know that there are other communities that are creative in the way that because you can't, part of that is because you'll run out of numbers. If you have as many zones as Logan does, you have to get a little bit creative in some of it. But this really is quite standard language. So if it's someone that's used to land use, or even a lot of public, they'll know that most people will know R is residential, and most people do know that the number either means the lot or well, I shouldn't say most, but many know the number either means the lot size or the number of units. But we do in the use chart that will come to you in a while when it's ready for you to look at. We have started to try and do some more description with that. One example I might use is our mixed use zone. We allow, if it's a horizontal, it's 25 units per acre, but if it's vertical, meaning that the businesses are on the bottom and the residential is on the top, then they get a density bump, and so then it's 33. But Logan's mixed area, one of their mixed areas, they have like 80. I mean, it's really a huge difference between what we allow and what they allow. And yet, if you were to look at the description of the zone, it's very similar in the kind of uses that are going in there, but the density is very different. And so that's why we're trying to actually be more transparent once people get used to our new method or our new terminology. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see that you're trying to simplify it, but also just coming from the public, and if you just read that, you know, if you aren't familiar with the term, so instead of thinking about it as, you know, McDonald's compared to Arby's, I'm thinking about it as this zone compared to this zone and how they're different, and just being descriptive of that. So this one is, and I think the numbers do show that. I just, you know, maybe we could just be a little more descriptive.
Can I make a comment?
Of course.
Yeah.
I like that we're getting away from density. Seems to be an inflammatory word.
High, you mean, as inflammatory
Well,
or?
it's in high density.
Density period.
High density.
okay.
Density is in itself is just, it just irritates me. Okay. So I'm glad we're getting away from that, but I think that Shelley has a good point. I think if we take like residential R120, if we put 20K, that'd be 20,000 square foot. That'd make it obvious that we're talking about something in the thousands. And it makes it more descriptive than just the R120 in the title, R120,000 square feet. Because when I read this initially, I had no idea what that was, but now I do. And if we had something in the title that just made it a little bit easier to, oh, there's a K there, what does that mean? and then they go back and look someplace else and find out what the whole meaning of the code is, that makes it much more easy, and they don't have to go back to it over and over because, like you say, medium, small, high,
What if there were a legend that
yes,
you said are, I mean, when you, because these ones will appear in there, I mean, rural residential, and it kind of abbreviates it here. But if there was, I mean, the residential district being an R, I guess you could take out the Rs because that's inherent in the residential side of it. You know, I think having more of a description inside, you know, that makes sense. I just think if we're going to talk about, you know, if I tell you how to interpret that one, a residential 1 unit per 20,000 square feet, you can interpret the rest of the zones of the residential. One sentence wise, you know what the rest mean. You can't do the same with the other side of the coin.
and one other thing is that that's the minimum lot size. So this is indicating the minimum size of lot for one, because you can have 30,000 in one house.
Right, these are minimums, not
So,
maximums, right?
If that were indicated in there as well, it's a minimum opposed to a number, but it doesn't have to be 20,000.
Right.
And that's the minimum. You're gonna put, you'd be in that area, in that zone.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Happy to have any change you'd like. How would you propose to make that change visible?
Legend is a good way to make it easy.
You're talking about the abbreviation or the description? The change that you'd like to see.
Well, I think what Ryan's saying and what would make sense is if you have a legend that says R means residential, you know, and you list what these codes mean. The second number means number, excuse me, number of units. And then the second or the third one is the number of square feet as a minimum lot size.
On residential.
Right. So if you have that, then I can go and look at R18, R16. Like, oh, I know what that means. So if you have a legend, that makes it simple. If we ever change or add another one in there and put something in between 10 and 12, then we already know what that means, right?
Can I ask, what, so the RR1, our current single family estate, being proposed to rural residential district, the one, that's the 1 acre. So we're switching from acre to square feet or.
So instead of 1,000 square feet, you're right. So this one becomes one is an acre instead of a square feet. So adding an SF on the back of it or KSF, I don't know that initial is common.
Or just write out acres and as, you know, as or something. And then the 7 and the 12 in the multi, are they also square feet?
So no, that's a good point. So they come back to the number because it is, whereas it's 7 per acre and 12 per acre. So it does come, the residential districts are per 1,000 feet, 1 per 1,000 feet. And then because it's multi, then it converts back to how many per acre. So yeah, there is a difference in how those align. And it's showing that, you know, we're open for how you'd like to show that. But yeah, you're right. That's a good point. But once you know 1, then you know 3. But you're right. How do we show that and how do we help as they read that? Because that's what we'd like to do.
I think it's important too to remember these are the titles.
And we will have
And
descriptions.
yes, and then down in the ordinance, there will be, as we get further along, then down in the ordinance, there will be descriptions and and examples so that people looking at it will be able to, like Ryan says, once you look at one or two descriptions or samples, examples, then you'll be able to quickly do it. But in all honesty, we need to have something that is pretty concise and abbreviated for many places in the code, just because of the use chart and different areas where we use it. If we don't have some type of a concise abbreviation, then it's going to make some of our code harder to read because it will be so wordy, for lack of a better term. But I do totally get, and I totally agree with the idea of having an explanation within the code, but maybe not right within the title. So
These are titles and these are not the further definition or description. These are just titles.
Is the R120, is that the name or the title? Like what, is that the?
Yeah, residential district R120 is the name.
Title needs to be concise as well, like when you're later, when it's referenced later in the code, is it reference R120?
yes,
Or do we? So. in
So
that
then we
case,
could further abbreviate it. So the name could be a little longer, but I would say that
I think of them, the name as a friendly name. What would show up on an agenda? Because that's what we're really getting at here is what is the public going to see on an agenda and how are they going to interpret it? So if it says residential district R120, just have in parentheses under that, min lot size 20 square feet. Or 20. That, and then that's the title. The zone names are great. And like having them consistent in that format, everyone who's in the business will get it. But I'm thinking like what goes on that agenda is the one that you want to kind of have a title that describes it, and then people, if they really want to know more, they can go read the full definition. Love that we're getting away from the large and medium and low and whatever, because that's completely subjective. And I was just really taken aback by the comment at the city council meeting that I believe the visionary developer made, that high density in some places means like 240 units per acre. So in here, it's a big problem for some folks when we want to put 8 per acre. So getting away from that and just sticking to facts of the numbers of what's where is amazing. So I appreciate it. We're doing that.
We're not just gonna pop a skyscraper in front of them.
oh, this,
So it's relative.
No, that's right. Okay. So do we feel comfortable with the naming that they proposed? Just like more description? Because something like residential district R120 is referred to as R120, about residential district. Yeah, just like saying 20,000. Yeah,
I would propose just add that one line under the title. That's what's the next line that describes it? 20,000 square feet minimum lot
I
size.
agree. Yeah,
It's
just
just-
this chart exactly, but some parentheses
it's kind of a,
that say, just describe the measurement.
And that's cleaner than a legend because you have the differences, the very minor differences between some of the different, like when you get into multiple residential, when you get into, you know, whatever else, like life cycle residential, which still exists as a zone. So I think that would be super clean. Again, because what you pop on the agenda, that's what people are going to see.
and the question with life cycle is if you were,
life cycle on agenda.
if you were somebody coming from another one, what would be a standard term? And maybe that is a mixed residential. Maybe, yeah, I mean, maybe that's mixed residential, because when we use mixed use, we realize that has multiple different things in it. But the life cycle residential, I don't know whether life cycle, I know I have my 401k invested in my life cycle options, but it's kind of a different one when I think about zoning, but I don't know. That's another question. I wasn't here when that was. I think we've kind of left it because it was a hot one and we don't want to
We don't want to,
That exists, right?
well, and we have some that are zoned that, I mean, but I think there has been a large understanding of what that was, or maybe a misunderstanding of what that was. So I don't know that we've tried to, we're not trying to get and fool the public. That is definitely totally not what we want to do. We just want to have it so that when a new resident comes in, so somebody, that city council, it sounds like you listen, somebody, city council came, they were new to the area, but when it said hi, I mean, they relate that to hi where they came from, and could be a world of difference. I have no idea what their hi was when they came, and they're opposed to hi, but when you start to describe what it is, then it's like, oh, well, that wasn't exactly what I thought, and I think that's what we're trying to be. I think the attempt is to be as transparent, and I think, having those descriptions, I think that adds. We may have to work on seeing what some of those are for some of the other districts, but the residential ones, I think that we can understand what you're looking for. Is there other ones other than residential? So we have residential and multi-residential that we could define. Anything else you'd want under like mixed use that would help people understand that one, or
They can go to the title. There's one where this, I think, for any con, there's maybe different. Many that are similar, but different. The R110, R18, R16, something that says a quick reference of why is it different. If someone really cares about what a commercial neighborhood district is versus a commercial general, they can go and read the description on that. But we're not getting into C110, C120. That's my take.
And what the different numbers mean. So life cycle residential, what does the 412 mean?
The minimum of 4 units per acre, and a maximum of 12 units per acre. So they could come in, a life cycle residential doesn't have to be, in fact, a lot of people would not call 12 units per acre a high density development. That would be more in a lower or medium density in most areas.
Yeah.
And so, and the reason for life cycle, Kai, do you want to just move the mic a little closer? The reason why we went with life cycle when we first originated it is because the public had asked us we were entering a time when there were a lot of people looking for senior housing, but they didn't really want to leave their neighborhoods, or they wanted to live closer to their grandkids. And so we actually had the public that was asking us for something like that. We didn't have anything like that. So that's why we came up with the term life cycle, is because we felt like with townhomes and apartments, which no one wants to say that word either, but we felt like with townhomes and apartments, they were like starter townhomes or apartments are when you're just leaving mom and dad's house and you're going out on your own. Townhomes maybe the next step up, and then smaller lots for single family, and then also patio type lots for active adults. And so that's what the whole thought of and at that same time, there was a lot of talk in the planning community nationwide about having the importance of having a full gamut of age range in neighborhoods, that there was a lot of studies being talked about that was healthy for people and whatnot. And so that's why the term.
Oh, yeah, no, I
magic.
understand life cycle residential. I used to live in Daybreak,
Yeah.
master planned community in South Jordan. My point is just the 412, maybe we should define that's per acre, a maximum, a minimum. Just when there's these numbers and they're switching from different measurements, just simply defining in parentheses what those measurements mean.
Yep, that's a good comment.
And I just have one more proposal. We go back and forth from using the D for district. So in the residentials, we don't have a D in the abbreviation. And then when we get to mobile home district, we do have the D. So just for consistency's sake, I might just say take the D out. So mobile home is just MH, since technically they're all districts. Just a suggestion there.
I think those are great suggestions. So what we're asking for is more description. It is in the title. And that the codes, the abbreviation is pretty good, but the idea of removing the word district, because they're all districts. That's defined in the title there.
I'd ask, can we get is there an issue with removing the D from those? Just been thinking about it, the two letters getting lost with other abbreviations when referenced later in the code, potentially being an issue. I get the desire to get consistent, but just wondering if that causes readability issues later on.
Maybe we want them all to be three letters.
At that point, it became a 3-letter. You can see recreation didn't have the D. Public doesn't have the D, but when it comes to commercial highway, added the D, so we had 3. So it looks consistent. I don't know if we had any magic behind that.
We didn't.
I don't know that we have I mean,
Yeah, you put a D on the residential ones, then they're quite.
it just adds and
R120D, they're just getting a little long.
yeah.
So yeah, either
I don't
way,
know.
honestly, is fine. I just a suggestion about.
Wasn't any magic to that one, I don't think.
The proposed document.
The proposed, yeah,
With your changes.
yeah, with the changes for additional information.
We'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and ask for motion then.
I'll make a motion. They have to forgive me while I stumble. This is my first official motion on a large item other than closing the meeting. So I will make a motion to approve amending the city code 1041 zoning districts established. To
what?
amend, did I already say that? Sorry, 1041.
You want to list the ordinance number?
Yes. Ordinance 08-2022, as drafted with some suggested,
Then tell us what the changes that you wanted are.
with further descriptions of the zoning names to further describe their measurement.
So you're in favor of a recommendation? You want to recommend this?
We approve the amendment
And you're recommending it to the council to make the motion.
to the city council.
Second? We have a motion by Shelley Mazer to approve the amendment as it stands with additional. Not approve, to recommend with additional wording in the description. We have a second.
Second, yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Washburn. So all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? It's unanimous.
Mr. Chair, may I make a suggestion before the bottom next slide?
Please go ahead.
May we please move item number 5 up the agenda because we have someone in attendance. It's great.
Okay.
like hearing all this.
You're welcome to stay.
We're gonna take that suggestion and go to administrative actions for a moment. Item number 5, the Providence City Center subdivision, second amended final plat. Providence City Planning Commission will review, discuss, and may take action on a second amended plat for the Providence City Center subdivision. Scarlett, would you like to bring us up to speed on this?
So we talked about this before. As you can see in the summary of key issues, this is the second amendment for the Providence City Center subdivision. It amends Lot 5 of the Providence City Center subdivision, and the preliminary plat was approved by the Planning Commission on September 28th. So now you're focusing on the final plat. This is taking a single lot and creating, adding an additional lot. So splitting one single lot into two. The findings of fact, we use Utah code. We also use Providence City code. We use our general plan and our master plans, and literally go right down the list for what's required in a final plat in 1133 of Providence City Code. So, and then our conclusions. Providence City has enacted ordinances that requiring that a subdivision plat comply with the provisions of the municipality's ordinances and the provision of Utah Code Title 10, Chapter 9A, Section 6, which is the subdivisions. Planning Commission is the land use authority for subdivisions. No public street has been vacated or amended. And prior to approving the amended plat, the Planning Commission needs to find that there is good cause for the amendment. The proposed final plat is consistent with the general plan and development in the surrounding areas. The water availability requirement was met with the DIC in May of 2006. We used to have them turn all the water shares in. Now we do it a little differently, but so this one was met in May of 2006. And then our fairly standard comment of the red in the findings of facts. There really isn't any red in this one other than the city engineer will verify the addresses. And I don't even remember if I put that as a red one on it. So, because it's just one address that they have to verify. The conditions would be for the applicant to address comments and or conditions from the Planning Commission or other staff members. We have not received any comments from other staff members. So if there's conditions that you feel like you want to add to it, you certainly can. Prior to the approval of the amended final plat, the Planning Commission needs to state the finding that there is good cause for the amendment and what that good cause is. And then the applicant will continue to meet all relevant federal, state, county, and Providence City rules, laws, codes, ordinances. Approval by the city of any application or paperwork submitted does not alleviate the owners and or their agents from their responsibility to understand and conform to local, state, and federal laws. Providence City's approval is not intended to and cannot be construed to allow any laws to be violated. And we do have Melanie, and I just want blank, Melanie Child from AmSource representing this application, if you would like to speak with her. And you also have a copy of the proposed final plat showing that Lot 5 of the Providence City Center subdivision is now turning into Lot 6 and Lot 7.
Did anything change from the preliminary?
No. They met the little tweaks that they needed to for the preliminary, but as far as the outline of the plan, no, it's the same.
We did have a question at that time of why it's not 5 and 6. Is that?
It's got to do with the way this is a new plat, and so that because I went back and looked through on our other plats, and they very seldom have replicated the very same number. They've either assigned like one when they redid. I recently did an amendment to a final plat for my personal property. And then mine was lot 3. Now it's lot 3 and lot 4, or lot 3A and lot 4. So they do make a designation. Most of them though have done like this one and just gone to the next 2 numbers. So
I imagine that's helpful because if you have documents that reference lot 5, now you can clearly say lot 5 doesn't exist anymore. You have lot 6 and lot 7. So I like that.
I'm not sure because I'm not a surveyor, but that's what the pattern seems to be. So
For a long time, Mike Glee wanted to reuse. Mike Glee is no longer the recorder. Mike Glee wanted to reuse lot numbers. And he's been gone 2, 3, 4 years now. And so I'm guessing that the new recorder has decided that he wants to handle it a little different. 3A sounds good to me, or
6 and 7.
6 and 7, and there's no 5 there. Why is there not a 5 there? You look at the abstract of the show.
Anything else?
That's all I had.
Okay, thank you.
Did we get you to sign in already?
No.
Come on up.
Take a bow.
They're connected to the trail. Let's talk to them about the trail. I figured we had. We just need to make sure that they finish it.
Because you're representing.
This one's
Special
site
privileges if you
plan,
live in.
because it's gonna stay in this.
I wonder how that.
Melanie, are you able to tell us what the restroom is now?
I'm surprised you guys have not heard.
Well, we just heard in the news they're Raising Cane's is coming.
It's not Raising Cane. That's not what that is.
Like a Chick-fil-A.
It was denial.
Okay.
A non-denial denial.
The firm that is preparing the site plan for the proposed buyer of lot 6, they have been in contact with us and they were just waiting. They needed to wait for this to get approved so that they could design to an actual lot, which they've already been designing to these ordinance and everything, but they're to the point that they have to have it in writing before they can go further.
So Melanie, you were with AmSource, and AmSource would like to do this subdivision split. Obviously, there's a need and sell and lease and all that stuff.
Yes, of course.
We're
working on that.
We really don't care. We try to make that very clear there. We don't care. You want to subdivide, that's great. What do you want to subdivide for? That's really not our business, but so we appreciate all the work that you've gone into to get this done. Anything else you want to share with us? I mean, just that obviously something's going to happen. It looks like in the next year on those 2
Yes.
parcels. So there's going to be buildings.
It is going to be, yes.
Questions for Melanie?
It's all the same as what we approved before, right?
Okay. Pretty straightforward. Shelley, anything?
Good.
Okay,
Excited.
thank you very much, Melanie, for coming tonight.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Any concerns on our parts? That was 5. Okay, yeah, I don't have any. So I'm ready for a motion. So would like to make a motion for or against.
Sure, make a motion that we approve final plat for the second amended final plat for Providence City Center subdivision, subdividing lot 5 into lots 6 and 7, subject to the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and conditions set forth in the staff report.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion to accept and recommend, isn't it? No, not this will approve. Approve this amendment. And a second. The motion was made by Tyler Riggs, second was by Shelley Nazer. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? It's been unanimous. The affirmative. Thank you very much for coming, Melanie. You're gonna stick around? I mean, it gets more exciting here.
I have to go back to Salt Lake.
Okay.
So be safe.
And I live up by Harriman, and Harriman, is like close to where I used to live. That's crazy.
Lovely area.
All right, I'm gonna go.
Thank you.
Okay.
See you later.
We are going back to legislative action items. Item number 4, moderate income housing strategies amendment. Providence City Planning Commission will review, discuss, and may make a recommendation to the city council regarding a proposal to amend the wording of strategies listed in 6.3 of the moderate income housing elements of the Providence City General Plan 2020 to be consistent with the two Utah codes there. So the proposal we've been given, we had some discussion on this. Let's bring this up to date first. Tyler, did you by chance listen to the discussion? This gets a little squirrely,
I
so,
was part of the first one.
Okay,
2
good.
weeks ago, or 4 weeks ago.
Good.
not the last one.
okay, so you're up on it. And Shelley, you watched it, so you're familiar with it. Okay, so the question comes up, do we want to go forward and recommend this to the city council? Moderate income housing. And what's at stake in my mind is that if we don't do this and we don't follow this ordinance, this state ordinance or state statute, that we will lose premium leadership, premium
Preference for grant.
preference in the timing of the funding for the streets. And so with that in mind, I'm feeling like we ought to support it. We ought to recommend it as it is. Shelley, what do you think?
I agree with you. I think we'll have opportunity to make changes later on. I think we want to get this through, meet our deadlines. And move it on up to the city council.
Okay. Tyler, concerns,
I
questions?
agree that this should go forward. This shouldn't be a big to do. Appreciate all the work that was put into this. It seems like it was quite a task. The objectives that were selected are a lot of things that were being done already, and just putting that into recognition, and thumbs up for me.
Okay. Bob,
I'm good.
okay. Looking for a motion then.
Officer.
I'd like to make a motion. We, adopt the moderate income housing strategies amendment,
So this is a recommendation.
a recommendation.
City council.
Okay, so
that you
that we make
recommend.
a recommendation to the city council that the moderate income housing strategies amendment would be adopted by the city council as it's proposed.
Second,
Second.
okay, Tyler Reed, second. Motion was made by Bob. You can't believe, I got these 3 other names going through my head.
Turn your name Tiger Brown.
Forbush. Anyway. Washburn. And so, and then Tyler Riggs made a second on the motion to recommend to the city council. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstained? Positive, all positive, green in the affirmative. Okay. We have anything else to cover here? Staff?
Thank you. Thank you for your work on all of that.
This is a
Amen.
challenge.
Thank you for all your comments. Ty did most of the work on the abbreviations, and I did most of the work on the moderate income housing. But Brian helped, staff helped. It's a team effort, but your input is very, very important to us. So thank you for taking the time to read it and critique it and give us your input.
Constructive criticism. I hope it doesn't ever come across that we're nitpicky and, just want to make sure that it makes sense.
Okay, if there's nothing else, we're gonna go ahead and I need a motion to close the meeting.
I will make a motion that we close the meeting.
I'd like to go ahead, second.
Second,
Okay, I'd like to make a note. The time is approximately 6:56.